Disabled veteran. I served in the United States Marine Corps. Love the country, love being an American. I'm currently in school studying to be a political philosopher professor. And I love sports, love to fly fish, love reading political books, political theory, history. I'm not a conservative, never been a conservative, never been a Republican. I created my own background, but I've always been a libertarian since high school. But since I'm a religious Lutheran, I'm a constitutional, social, libertarian, social because of my religious background, and libertarian because I really believe in individual freedoms and liberties. And I'm really big on the Constitution. The Constitution could change everything. Social, there's many terms for social, you go socialism, social is in religion. And since I'm a very religious Lutheran, that's why I'm a social Lutheran, because I believe in a religious standpoint of being a libertarian, because you got libertarians out there that I call them progressive libertarians. They believe in prostitution, legalizing all forms of drugs. I don't believe in that, being a religious Lutheran. I'm all for marijuana, but everything else, it's like there's a standpoint with morals where I stand at. Gone to a lot of rallies in my life. My first political rally I've ever been to, he came to Mitt Romney. I was 16 years old. He came to a small town in Ohio called Defiance, Ohio. Only maybe like 20,000 people there. Like everyone knows each other in Defiance. It's not that big. But even before that, I've always been active in American history and politics. I've always watched the news, listened to politicians, see what's going on. I've always tried to stay informed. And when I moved out to Arizona, I really got into it. I'm in college for it. And what actually turned me to get even more political was, since I'm a very constitutional guy, it was the first impeachment they tried doing on Trump, which was unconstitutional. It was pretty awful to see that. I'm like, this is insane. And that's when I wasn't on the mega train or a full-on Trump supporter. I didn't have any problems with them. It wasn't until that impeachment happened, because it really just rubbed me the wrong way. I voted for Gary Johnson. I was in a foxhole in 2016. So before I went out for training I was gone for like 3 months. I texted my mom who I wanted on the absentee ballot, and she filled it out for me. And I didn't have I really didn't have anything against Trump, but everyone's so used, and even like regular political people that say they're in politics, like I was at the time, they weren't used to seeing a Trump in there and disrupting the establishment. We're so used to someone who's just political and he's just a pawn. That's why it's such amazing what Trump did, because we need more people like that. I went to my first Trump rally in February of 2020. He came to Phoenix. Then he had another one in Goodyear in October. But even between those timeframes, especially when the lockdowns were happening, I was going to all these rallies at the state capitol or around Phoenix, just to peacefully protest and get together and just talk. Because I travel a lot and I document stuff. I go to a lot of states. I drive, I don't fly. And I analyze different communities. I talk to people in the community. I take a lot of photos. I do videotapes, and I just talk to regular people who live in those communities. And in all the areas I went to, it's just Trump country everywhere. You got your big cities, but if you actually drive out and you go to these rural areas and these smaller towns, all you see is American and Trump flags everywhere, and just big Trump signs saying Trump 2020 on farmers' fields, ranch land. I've never seen anything like that with Bush and Obama, but with Trump, it's literally everywhere when you just go out and travel and see it. Before it got deleted, after the FBI I run the JFK report. John F. Kennedy is my favorite president, and the JFK report is my political page where I post my photos, my videos, and my active stuff that I do around Phoenix. And the day of my arrest, or the day after I got out of jail, I mean, the FBI and big tech, they're working together. No one's denying that. They had my private accounts deleted and my JFK report deleted. They don't want Trump supporters and people like you and I getting out there and pushing American stuff to save this country. They want it to all end. And my stuff was growing. I was having my page on my main JFK report page was on Instagram, and it was growing big time. I was getting people messaging me, sharing all my content, because what I do is studying political science. I expose political propaganda and I talk about political philosophy. So I'll go to different cities, and I do it here in Phoenix, and I'll look for political propaganda and I'll expose it. That's what I do. I'll look for the stickers, posters. If it's a rundown town, if you see it boarded up and nothing there, then I look and see, well, who's all their local officials that they elected, and it's Democrat, Democrat, Democrat. It just blew all the way. It just, well, it makes sense. I'm not saying I'm not. Here's the thing: I'm not a Republican either. The thing of at least the thing of Republicans with me is they don't fight. They have no bone in them to actually stand up and fight and stand up for their people. They just go the speed limit. They don't want to get pushy, and I don't like that. We're supposed to be fighters in this country. They got to play in the terms of how the Democrats play. They need to stand up, start filibustering more. I mean, they do in the Senate, but they need to start getting more active, where they need to start talking about it every day, and they need to start making demands. They need to start doing paperwork, because when you watch DC and Democrats in other states, they love writing paperwork and reports and getting the media there and getting some sort of investigator there. We have to start playing that way, then you got to start having more rallies and coming to who you're representing in your state, and start getting people into your local positions that support you, your loyalists. If you could get loyalists in your school boards, your local and state officials, then you can support all the federal people who you want in DC, so you get what you have to get done. Because I'm glad you brought that up, because everyone talks about, fighting, he means violence. He wants to use violence. No. That's why we have the First Amendment. That's why the fathers created the First Amendment, because they wanted us to be able to hash it out verbally, paper, like gentlemen, and get it done, because they fought in a political revolution, which they bled for and died using the Second Amendment. So we wouldn't have to go that route again. I mean, yeah, we have the Second Amendment, but they want us to use the First Amendment as much as we can, because we can talk about it. I mean, Trump did it in North Korea of Kim Jong-un, and he went to different other countries and just sat down and talked to people. That's all it takes, is just actually sitting down, be kind, be gentlemen, and let's talk something out. I've been to 2 Trump rallies, but I've been to many small rallies and protests all over Phoenix. Probably over 20. Because I was when the day after election, or no, it was the same night of the election, or it was the next day. There was about 300 people down or more at the election board in Phoenix, where they count the elections and all the ballots. When we were protesting at the election board, that's when a lot of leftist counter protesters came, but we never got violent. There were a lot of people, like me personally, I have photos with them. I went up there and just talked to them like family, that I loved them, because I'm a Christian. I just wanted to hear what they were doing and their thoughts, and that was it. You had like the Trump supporters that were yelling at him, telling him to get out of here. We don't want you here. But there was a lot of us telling those Trump supporters, like, just ignore them. If you give them the attention, this is what they want, and the media could just record it and twist your story and twist this even more. So I'm one of those guys because these counter protesters are so small, just ignore them and they don't do anything. And we also found multiple Antifa members too, and they were so uncomfortable with us, because they just walk into the crowd and you just know they're Antifa. They're wearing their black, they're wearing their boots, they got their weird goggles. Then the left counter protesters too with Antifa would come up with their signs and just kind of yell and just protest, and that was it, but never once got violent with them. Antifa was just there walking, and there was just people were ignoring them, because there's a lot of Trump supporters that they really can't tell if they're Antifa or not. But I know how to read Antifa. I've seen them around. I was assaulted at the Phoenix State Capitol at there was a pro-Hamas rally back in May of this year, and they didn't like my pro-Israel. So I went there to go counter protest, because Hamas is a terrorist organization, and they had one of their guys assault me, and it's all on camera, and they got his face on camera. He did it right in front of the state capitol. And yeah. I know how Antifa works, because what they do is they they like using their body to touch you, and they just try to push you like this, and they get you away from everyone. Then they get you in a perfect spot. And what they did, they were doing that to me, and they had a bunch of flags flying around me. Then they had their guy come and choke slam me down on the ground. They're dirty people. And I know where we're going to be going with this, because, Trump supporters, we just don't do this. We're not violent. We don't go out and destroy property. We don't go out there and fight counter protesters. There might be yelling, but for the most part, we just ignore it, because we're just here to do what we have to do. We want to keep it peaceful. You see a lot of Proud Boy members. Sometimes they won't wear their gear, but then you do see them wearing their shirts. One of the last rallies I saw them at, and this was before my arrest, they were wearing all their Proud Boy stuff, but they were keeping all their faces covered and everything just because of the 6. Yeah, I've seen the Proud Boys at many Arizona rallies. They've always been just kind of, they kind of do like guard stuff, they hang out in the group, they come around, they talk to people, they take photos, they just casual, nothing. They don't get violent, they don't get upset or anything, and that's it. They just go out there and peacefully protest, and they go back home, and a lot of them usually go back to one of their leaders' houses and they drink. That's what they do. They love to get together and drink. And I'm sober. I don't drink. I'm 2.5 years sober from alcohol, so I don't drink. Even though I'm friends with them. I have no bad terms with them in a way where I would go snitch on them or go turn them. So that's just not me. But I want nothing to do with them, because they were supposed to protect me. And specifically the Arizona Proud Boys, they left me there. I found out, because the reason why I kept going to the Capitals, because a lot of the Proud Boys were wearing orange. That's why they put an orange duct tape around me, so they could recognize who I am. So if something happened, they'd be like, okay, he's with us, because I would have never put it on, because I was just there. Only thing I had in my book bag was all medical gear and my 2 blog chargers to record everything. And I just had medical gear in case someone got hurt or something happened, but the Arizona Proud Boys, when everything happened, they just left me there. They just ditched me. They all went back to the hotel. And that really rubs me off the wrong way. It's like, you guys just left me there to dry, and you're back at the hotel, and now I'm facing these charges because I saw so much orange that day, because there was just regular people wearing orange too that day. And that's the only reason I kept going forward, because I just wanted it. Because when the violence and the riot started, I was by myself. I was in a crowd of people I didn't know, and I'm 100% disabled for PTSD. So I was already in this mindset, like, what's going on? I've never dealt with this before. I've never seen this before. This is crazy. And I kept seeing orange. So I kept going forward, and I couldn't find everyone. The next thing I know, when I finally get phone service after everything's done, like, oh yeah, we're back at the hotel, man. Was not happy. I want nothing to do with them. I mean, even though I wasn't a Proud Boy, it's just that it was wrong what they did. And I'm trying to figure out, like, where's everyone at? Then I get my text messages from my family, like, hey, what's going on? Get out of there. And what's going on over there? And a couple members of the Proud Boys, oh yeah, man, we're back at the hotel. And I was like, wow, I would have never went inside if you guys just would have if I would have got the message, or you guys just would have grabbed me or told me, dude. Like, so that's when I walked back to where they were staying. I went there just to go see what they were doing, talk to a few people, interview them, And as soon as I got back, and half of them were already drunk and being obnoxious, and I'm just like, yeah, I'm cool with this. And one of them were trying to fraternize me, and I just don't put up with that. I already went through that in the Marine Corps. I'm like, no, I'm going back to my hotel room. You guys are a bit much for me. I've known Jake. My first time I met Jake was at the Phoenix rally in February of 2020, and everyone was just looking at him. He was just going around talking, screaming. I'm like, man, I'm getting my photo with this guy. I'll send it to you right now on your phone. Jake's a great guy. He has never ever been violent. He just loves to protest peacefully, and he does. I don't believe in Q. I've never believed in Q. That's one thing, but I respect what people want to do, because we live in a free country. but he's never been violent. He loves people. He'll shake your hand. He'll give you a hug. He'll have a heart-to-heart man conversation with you. He'll even talk to the ladies, just being kind. And the guy's pretty intelligent, but and that's one thing. Then he has his other stuff that goes on, but like his Q stuff and and the stuff he believes in on his beliefs. But other than that, he's never been violent. I've seen him every rally I've been to. He's pretty much been there, and he's just peaceful and just having a good time. He's smiling, and everyone goes up there to get a photo with him because it's just you don't see that, And then you see January 6th, and you're like, he's all over the news, like, oh dang, because I saw him there that day. It was on my way to the National Monument, and I saw him in the middle of the street, and I recognized him. You can't. When you know Jake, you know Jake. I went over there and gave him a hug, and he gave me a hug, and that was it. He's gone to BLM rallies and a couple Antifa rallies probably, but that's because he's counter protesting in a way, but he's really a patriot. He's an American, he's not on that BLM and Antifa stuff, but he'll go there because he's just a nice guy. He's not a violent guy. He just goes, but you gotta, if you're from Arizona and you've gone to a lot of these rallies, you really got to know Jake, what the media is saying about him. Then you have people that have never seen him in their life, and now people make fun of him on the news. They're like, oh yeah, the dude with the bullhorn. Yeah, that's his costume and what he believes in. But the guy's a really, really nice. He's really kind. He wouldn't harm the fly. The guy's he's really great. And what they're doing to him in DC, it's disgusting. I did a speech 2 days ago. It's for the political prisoners, and I was able to get a platform to go speak about my experience and whatnot. And Jake's mom was able to speak there. I met Jake's mom. Jake's mom, she's just a sweet mom, and her son's just being abused. It's pretty sad to see. And her mom's upset. There's been a lot of Arizona politicians in touch with her, and she said they're going to get what they get when that day comes. She's going to get her day in court when her son gets out. She's fighting for her son. She's not giving up. That's her baby. I don't blame her, and she knows that what they're doing to her, to his son, is it's completely wrong. And especially the other people just sitting in DC with same charges like you and I, getting no bail, and they're still keeping them in there. I'm pretty grateful. It's like, me and you could be locked up still right now, but we're not. God has other plans, but they're keeping a lot of people in there with the same charges just locked up, not even getting a trial date yet, because it's all political. I live in Arizona. Yep. In Montana. I'm from Montana. My family ranch is up there where my dad runs it. So in November, I went up there for Thanksgiving. I went up there for a deer hunt, and I stayed up there until like mid-December. Because I asked my mom if I could come home for Christmas, and she said, yeah, come on. So I went to Ohio for Christmas. And then I found out about mid-December, or the time I was going to Ohio, like Trump was holding another rally January 6th. And where my mom lives in Ohio, it's only a 7-hour drive. I was like, hey mom, for my 25th birthday, I would just like to go to DC to see this big old rally. And I didn't think of anything of it. She's been to a couple of Trump rallies in Toledo, and there's nothing's ever happened at Trump rallies. And she's like, yeah, go have fun. And she knows I'm not a violent person. She knows I wouldn't do anything I wouldn't get myself in trouble to. So I drove to DC on my 25th birthday. I stayed in Virginia. I didn't want to stay in DC. Stayed in Virginia. Then the next day I met up with a group of people, and we just did our thing in DC. I wasn't going to go to DC unless I knew someone from Arizona or somewhere else, unless they were going to go. So the Arizona Proud Boys, a lot of them got to DC because all the Proud Boys all over America were going there. And I'm not a Proud Boy too. And that's what they're trying to pin on me. Because if you look at all my social media before it got deleted, before January 6th, and after January 6th, I had nothing on there Proud Boy related. And I don't even have Proud Boy clothes or anything in my house. It's just not my thing. I just knew the Proud Boys because I worked with a couple of them. Well, work at the gym, worked out, and I thought it'd be cool just to go with them, interview them because the media is always doxing them. I just wanted to interview them, talk to them, analyze them, and I used them for protection because I had this feeling that maybe Antifa or some BLM people might have been there, and I didn't know how packed it was going to be. I just had this feeling that there could have been. I didn't want to be left out by myself or get assaulted because I know I could be protected by the Proud Boys because the Proud Boys will protect your American people. Yeah, I didn't. I'm kicking myself in the butt. I should have recorded some of them just to help me in my case, but it was pretty much just interviews, just talking to them verbally because I just wanted to talk to them and just hear it firsthand. And I was just having a good time just talking to them. I was listening to their stories and the thing, they call the Proud Boys the white supremacy group, and it's pretty funny because white people are legitimately the minorities in Proud Boys. A lot of them are just Mexicans and Cubans and some black people as well. The white people are really the minorities in the Proud Boys. The Proud Boys they're just guys, like they're just looking for a purpose in their life, just to have calamity, and a lot of them just work jobs that barely get by. They have families to support, so it's just almost for them just to have some sort of base and family, and they just love their country, and that's what I got from them. A lot of them are just hardworking Americans and just trying to do what they got to do. And the ages are varied too. It's anywhere from like 18 to there was Proud Boy members in their 60s and 70s there. It's like, dang, that's crazy. You get people in their 70s and 80s, white hair, gray beard, just in there walking around being a Proud Boy. I've never seen anything like that. But yeah, a lot of them are, there's some people in there, it's like, yeah, maybe they shouldn't be in this group or whatnot, just because you saw some of them did get pretty crazy that day. I mean, I can't deny that. And the thing is, and I was talking to them, there was no discussion of ever going to the Capitol. It was just everyone's marching around, they're chanting their chants, just talking, high-fiving, laughing, smiling. Then when Trump said, go to the Capitol peacefully, that's when they got the news from reading all the information on the YouTube and internet when everything was going live. And that's when they started to go towards the Capitol, and they went to the Capitol, and the Proud Boys weren't even the first ones there. With the Proud Boy crowd I was with, I keep shaking my desk. They get to the road where the inauguration area was, and the Proud Boy crowd just disperses and mixes up with this huge Trump crowd because there was already a huge Trump crowd already going that way. Because I have the video, you had two cops wave people in, and that's why, you read all these reports about, oh, they broke barriers, but the crowd was so huge, they couldn't fit through the two gates. So they just put them down, because there was just a huge crowd, and the cops were waving people to come into the inauguration area. Yeah, it's hard to see, but it's like a split second you see him waving them in. Much as I went through my footage and looking through everything and looking at it with my legal team, I was realizing more things and picking out more, rewatching my videos and going over my photos, because before we went to that Capitol, I think I sent you the photo too. I have a photo of DC Metro dressing up in riot gear way before anyone got to the Capitol. I'm like, why are they dressing up in riot gear? That doesn't make sense. It's like they're already getting ready to think it's going to be a riot when we don't do that type of stuff. It was between 11 and so it was more between 11 and probably like 11:45 then. It was just open. Up in the front, it was just there and just walking around. There was no one harassing anyone. There was no cops telling us to get away. It was just there looking around, being tourists, took a couple photos, and just a big crowd. And then when the closer we got to the Capitol from right there, then we started seeing cops and we all stopped. Cops were on a little higher podium, and it was only like a 5-10 inch drop, and none of the Trump supporters stepped foot on there, or even we were on the not on the edge, but like our toes were like touching it, but we never stepped foot on that and got in front of the cops. And that's when the riot team just came out of nowhere and just started beating people when we weren't even bothering the cops, or no one was getting violence towards the cops that weren't even dressed up in riot gear. They were just there. And we were all just peacefully protesting. And the next thing I know, I wish I could have got this on video, but I didn't, because as soon as I saw it, I turned around, and I got away from there. I went to the back. We were not even up there for 5 minutes. I looked to my right out of one of the tunnels, and then the riot squad just comes out of nowhere, and they just started. I don't want to call it. I'm calling it the Capitol Police just because everyone on the Capitol. I mean, they were being Capitol Police that day. They just started attacking people, and they had people up top already pointing guns with pepper balls and pointing at people, and they were really initiating everything that happened, because if they just would have sat there, oh yeah, all of us would have been yelling and protesting, but nothing would have happened. No one would have got in fights. No one would have been violent. No, they didn't make it. They were just silent. It was just, all you hear is clunking from their riot gear. And next thing you know, they're just punching, and you can hear the batons getting swung on people. I didn't hear anything like that. This is over. When you watch the news and see all this stuff where the cops not, hey, this is a riot, this is an unlawful area, get out of here. There was none of that. There was none of that whatsoever. Because you always hear that when you hear about, hey, it's an unlawful area, get out of here. There was none of that. There was nothing announcing this is an unlawful area. They came out of nowhere. Like no one expected it. Everyone just saw it and froze. And the next thing you know, they're tackling people, beating them with their batons and throwing hands on people. And that's when, as soon as I saw them running out, I turned around and dipped. I'm like, I'm not being part of this. I don't know what's going on here. And that's when I pulled out my phone more and I started recording stuff and just talking to people in the crowd and just seeing everything that was going on. I noticed when I got back in the back of the crowd, it was hard to see because I didn't realize the way we came up, it was like a ramp, and you have the stairs going up to it, but I didn't see those stairs. It was like a ramp. Then when the riot squad came up, then I realized that there was a bunch of stairs, because what happened was a lot of people couldn't see anything because you had the podium area. Then you had like 5 steps below that, which it was all flat. Then you had the back wall right here. Then if you look back, that's all the grass. From that wall and back is where you can see the National Monument and all the grass. And there was a lot of Trump supporters there. They didn't realize what was going on. They couldn't see anything because there was just so many people there blocking the way because of the different levels there were from that inauguration area, from the grass level, a flat area, then you had stairs, and you had above the stairs, there was people standing there getting flashbangs for no reason. Like, why are we getting flashbanged? We're just standing here. I saw women and kids getting flashbanged, and there was even cops swinging on women and pushing kids off. It's like, what are they doing? They weren't even flashbanging people in the front or people that were actually getting violent with the cops. They were flashbanging people in the crowd just standing there because they didn't know. They were just legitimately standing there not doing anything. I kept walking around and getting a little bit closer to where the cops were. I just wanted to see what was going on. They were tear gassing people, dropping their gas in the crowd, flashbanging. You had cops up top of the podiums shooting pepper ball guns at people. You had, I remember seeing people up on the podium taking photos of the crowd, taking photos of people, pointing at people, and I was like, dang, those guys are gonna be going to jail. And next thing I know, 2 months later, I got the knock on my door. I was like, oh, come on. Yeah, so there was a lot going on just for a small moment of time. And 90 to 95% of the crowd were just peaceful. There was only a select few that were getting violent and that were getting causing destruction. I was only inside for no less than 25 minutes. I saw small orange and it kept going way over here up where the steps, and it was just a mixture of even just regular Trump supporters too, or just people going up. I go up the stairs and the stairs are just freaking packed, and I didn't know there was violence and windows being broken at the Capitol. I missed that by 10 or 15 minutes because I cramped, like legitly cramped up 3 or 4 times. So I get real bad cramps. I mean, off topic, but, and I actually had someone had to stretch me out because I was cramped up that bad. They had to stretch me out. And I get up and I get to the Capitol and I see the doors wide open, but the glass was broken. And I was like, whoa, why is the glass broken? And why are these doors wide open? And there was a huge, over 100 people standing in a line on the wheelchair ramp, just laughing, smiling, like nothing was happening, and they just walked into the Capitol and that was it. I have a video of just like 6 riot officers just standing there doing nothing. And there was like 2 guys yelling at him, telling him to read the Constitution. And people are standing like, why are you just standing there? There's another door going this way of just officers in riot gear just standing there watching everyone. Because I sent you that video. Yeah, then I walk in and I'm in this big hallway, like a circle hallway almost. And there was just cops standing there, just talking to people, laughing, taking photos. I saw cops taking selfies with Trump supporters, giving them high fives. I was just like, this doesn't make any sense to me. And then I'm just following this crowd, recording everything happening, because the closer and closer I got to the Capitol, the more silent I got. Then when I stepped in, I was just completely quiet. I've never been inside the Capitol, and I was actually amazed with seeing all the artwork in there. I love art, and I was actually looking for I'm related to Angeli Jackson, so I was looking for his statue, so I go take a photo of it. But I was just in there taking photos, analyzing everything, and I was just kind of confused, like, what's going on here? That's when I caught the footage of John Sullivan, and that's when I was in this hallway and I saw 2 guys in all black and black hoodies, black face mask, take a hammer and bust out one of the windows into the chamber. And I grabbed this statue and I froze, and everything just froze, like I've never felt this before. You see it in the movies. They always talk about like everything froze, everything was just slow motion for me. And I just prayed to God. I'm like, God, I don't know what's going on here. Get me out of here, please. Let me get out. Just guide me out of here so I can get out of here. And so I stopped praying. Everything got back to normal to me. And the hallway was getting gas, and I saw 2 cops running at me, and I put my hands up. I'm like, oh, looks like I'm going to jail. But they ran past me because I was in the hallway where Ashley Babbitt got murdered, and I didn't realize that happened until I was looking at where I was at, and then realizing why everyone was screaming and the cops running towards someone. But no, yeah, I was in the hallway and I saw 2 all people dressed in black, and as soon as I saw them hammer out the hole, I was like, whoa, what is this? Because I didn't see anything like that outside, because another thing is too, where I was at in the inauguration area, I didn't see Trump supporters fighting cops. The only thing I did see with my eyes is one Trump supporter released this whole can of bear spray on a bunch of the cops outside. That's the only thing I saw outside. I didn't see any of the Trump supporters fight the cops because I was just talking to people, trying to get away from flashbangs, the tear gas. And I didn't see any of that inside until I saw the 2 people in black bust out that window, and I froze and I got out of there. Yeah. I was like, I ain't part of this. This ain't me. Because I'm going to be honest with you, me studying political theory, as much as I love Trump and the MAGA movement, I do not like tribalism. I don't support tribalism. I was actually really bothered to see Trump supporters messing with our statues and dressing up our statues in mega gear. I'm like, I thought that was very disrespectful. Yeah, there was people just going up to the statues and putting on mega scarves, putting on mega hats on the statues, putting sunglasses over them. I'm like, what are you guys doing? Leave the statues alone. Don't be touching the property. And there's so much ancient art and ancient statues in that building that's sacred to our country. Don't be doing that. I didn't like that. I consider that tribalism. I don't like tribalism. Tribalism leads into bad directions. Yeah, I called that out the same day. I denounced, like, hey, the violence that went on and the dressing up of our statues. I was like, that's not cool. And even though there's videos of the people that bust out the windows were wearing all the black, and everything. And there could have been some Trump supporters that broke out windows. I haven't seen that videos yet, but it's still wrong. Like, why are we breaking out the windows of the Capitol? Like, I didn't realize, like, what was really happening. It wasn't clicking to me because I was in my PTSD episode. I'm 100% disabled for PTSD. I have all my VA paperwork, I wasn't realizing everything that was going on that day, but just to see, like, I didn't like seeing the windows broken, I'm like, this isn't us. Why are people breaking windows and dressing up our statues and whatnot? Then you're inside and you see the cops high-fiving and taking selfies and everything. It was just a messy day that day. It went from a great peaceful day to some big, huge mess in an hour. It lasted like an hour, 2 hours. You're going to see two guys in the face mask wearing the army camouflage. Those two were FBI informants. USA! 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 Because when you go on the FBI watch list, I have multiple photos of those guys outside and inside. They're not on the FBI list. Their faces were never recognized, and they're not even on the FBI list for wearing any of that gear, because there's people still on the FBI watch list that were wearing gear and they want people to recognize them. Those guys don't appear up. I went to the Lincoln Memorial the next day, then I head back to Ohio. I was in Ohio for like about a week. Then I drove back to Arizona. Then my hair was falling out. It was crazy. I saw the news what the FBI were doing, and it's like, whoa, what the heck? I didn't even do anything, And I didn't make any of the wanted list or anything. Someone reported my Instagram, then they Googled my number, they traced my steps, and on March 24th, they came to my house. They're like, hey, we're not here to arrest you. We know you're a disabled veteran. We just want you to know we're investigating you, and just asked me a couple questions, and it spooked the snot out of me, and they took me to the VA, and I got checked in for 5 days. I got released. Then about 2 months later, on May 18th, a week before May 18th, they called me because they thought I was in Montana. I was like, no, sir. We shook hands in the car, and he took me to the hospital. I told you I was never going to leave. He's like, all right. I'm like, I gave you my word. And they were supposed to go through my lawyer first. So they violated by calling me directly and not talking to my legal team. I did a self-turn-in. I'm going to be honest with you, as much as I saw what the FBI agents were doing to other people, raiding their houses and everything, I'm very grateful and humbled that they didn't raid my house. They didn't treat me like how other people were being treated, because, they knew I was a disabled veteran. They knew I was studying to be a professor. And they knew I'm not just some guy that what the media was making out of. So I did a self-turn-in on May 18th, turned myself in. And, they took me down to Florence to get booked, had my hearing the next day, and I was released after 30 hours. And now I'm here. I say the charges are fair. The only one I don't like is it's all in one charge. It's violent entry and disorderly conduct on Capitol grounds. It's like, but I never violently entered anything. I wasn't even violent the whole time. But what I found out, my lawyer said that charge is less severe than the misdemeanor trespassing. I was like, that's crazy. I was actually shocked that they didn't give me more charges. Like, parading and picketing, because I mean, I wasn't doing that, but now they just gave me trespassing and just violent entry and disorderly conduct. It's like, okay, I mean, I didn't do anything else. I wasn't even violent either way, but it's like, yeah. If they just want to give me one misdemeanor trespassing or just disorderly conduct, I'm cool with that, you know, it's whatever. But what they did to me though is they wanted me to be quiet. They didn't, when they came to my house, they told me, don't make this any bigger than what it is. But it really opened up my eyes more, you know, and I started megaphoning around Phoenix, just talking about stuff and getting more active. And they didn't like that. And they didn't like that I kept telling people that I saw the Capitol Police, I saw BLM and Antifa start a lot of this violence and whatnot, and they did not like that one bit. The DA in Washington wanted to give me felonies, but the agent who was investigating, he was telling me up and down, like, dude, I made sure you did not getting any felonies. They really wanted to give me felonies. Oh, they told me straight up, it's like, dude, you talk a lot of shit. And I looked at him, I was like, yeah, I do. I didn't say that to him, but I was like, yeah. No, well, it was just that they told me multiple times in the car, do not make this any bigger than what it is. But to me, I'm like, dude, you guys are the FBI and you guys are coming out of misdemeanor charge. This is bigger than, I'm just a regular old guy who works out. I'm a disabled veteran. I have a clean record. I don't cause any commotion in the community. To me, it was a big deal. You know, you're coming after me and you're trying to ruin my life, then that could, and you know, and even though, you know, you could get a job with misdemeanor charges, but the thing is, it's the stigma of January 6th where the media spun it out to be in the FBI. A job sees that and they're like, no, we don't want you, even though it's misdemeanors. So I haven't even been convicted yet. GoFundMe booted me off their platform. They said I violated their term and services. And it's like, whoa, that's crazy. Then about 2 months after that, or about a month after that, I got an email a week or two ago, and I think you saw it on Twitter, Lyft booted me off their platform. I was like, whoa, I'm not even convicted of anything, and these are misdemeanor charges. They're not even violent charges. That's crazy. How do you get kicked off and if you haven't even been convicted of a crime yet? They wrote that 17-page report that really, it's just contradicting itself. And they went to the media and they spun a story, and the media went to my old house and they found my family's numbers and addresses, and they went to go talk to them, and they were blowing up my family's phones to see if they knew anything about me. It was pretty bad. My friend who's a disabled veteran, he had to get out of his house with his neighbor and push all the media outside because the media, they're a bunch of cockroaches, man. They were going to my neighbors' houses and asked if they knew who I was. And I don't even, where I was living, I never talked to my neighbors. They didn't even know who I was. I would just wave at them and go for morning jogs, and that was it. So I posted a few memes on my JFK report. You know, that meme of George Washington, that's true. That happened in the political revolution. It happened, you know, it's just a pro-American meme. And I just posted it on my Instagram, like, oh, this is pretty cool. I like this meme. I even have a meme on there of two people dueling, you know, back in the 1870s. You know, I like history, and I think some of the stuff's just funny and humorous, you know. So I think it's funny that they're holding that against me. It's like, what? It's just a meme, and it really did happen. That's what they did in the political revolution. They crossed the Delaware on Christmas Day, and they went to go fight the British. Yeah, those are just all my friends from here in Phoenix. None of them they have clean records. None of them are Proud Boys either. They're just regular Americans that do their own thing, you know, and we're all connected because we're all socially connecting to build Arizona and get more influencers in the city of Phoenix. You know, that's it for that one. Yeah, nothing, just a way for the FBI to twist more stories, you know. That was my first time ever seeing. I've never been anything like that, and that's experience now. Most definitely, just gonna walk away from it. But the thing is, I don't know. Me running the JFK report, it's my own independent journalist page. You know, we have a right to do that as journalists, and I think it's crazy that you got to have press credentials now. Like that's violating a lot of rights. But you know, if it got crazy, like especially like on government grounds like that, yeah, you know, I would, okay, yeah, let's go. I don't need to be doing, I don't need to be this, I don't need this stuff to repeat itself, you know. But if I was there as like an actual journalist, then I would just use a fake phone, a camera, record everything, and just keep everything hidden off my face, and make sure that I would post nothing on my social media, and there would be no trace of me ever being there, you know. But yeah, I've never seen anything like that. So there would be two. If I'm doing it for my JFK report, I'm protecting myself. But if I'm just there and I'm not doing anything with the JFK report, it's like, nah, see you, man, I'm going back. I don't have any regrets of the 6th. Like I didn't do anything, you know. It's just funny how they're making these people who walked inside insurrectionists. You're a terrorist. It's like, what? You ain't get out of here, dude. I'm just trying to stand up and fight for everyone that's being persecuted for this, like yourself and I. And I'm praying for the people that are locked in the DC gulag. You know, there's no reason for these people with the same charges like us just sitting there in jail. It's wrong. You know, we all just need to stand together and do this peacefully and civilly, you know, and take back the courts and prove our cases. We're not these monsters and terrorists and insurrections what the media is making out and all these people are trying to say about us. It's just wrong. It's people like you and I that make this country run, you know, that keep this country going and thriving, you know, and people like us, without people like us, this country ain't going to be nothing.